Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. My name's Austin Linney. We have a special guest here, a close personal friend of mine, Dani. Dani, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. It's Friday. The March is almost over. Guys, what we're looking to do here with this podcast is we're looking to inspire y'all to take action on your life, to build a lifestyle. Instead of a bank account. We're looking for y'all to have a mindset that is unstoppable, and obstacles are just a mere blimp in the road for you. So what we're going to do here is Dani's going to talk about her journey into the Airbnb space. She's an owner, operator of a management company in St. Augustine, Florida. She's got 28 units right now and started with 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to peel apart the story of how you build from being in the hospitality industry to moving over to the management world to having employees and so many things that you didn't know you had to deal with, and what was easy and what was hard. So kind of walk us through a little bit about yourself, how you got started and where we are today.
Sure. So I am Dani, and I started out in hospitality. So I went to school at UCF after high school. I went to the Orlando University, UCF, and that was all for like event management, things of that nature. I wanted to get into hospitality and stay in hospitality. Well, I had been already hostessing at restaurants through high school. I had gotten into a position bartending in college, and I ended up coming back to my hometown, St. Augustine, after UCF, and continued bartending because that was where the money was. Like, this is a tourist town. Florida is a tourist-driven state, and the money is in bartending and serving here. So that's what I did because that's what I knew. And I really honestly had no clue what I really wanted to do with my life, like really big stuff. But I always had this feeling of like, I knew I was going to do something big, but I didn't know what it was. I actually studied theater in college as well because I wanted to go into acting, moved to New York at 24 years old and lived with my best friend in order to try to pursue that. Ended up just serving tables, LOL, to make money.
I saw the pictures. So, I mean, there were some pictures taken. Did you ever do any acting, or was it just...
I got headshots done. I did some auditions. I ended up literally just working in this gigantic big box Asian restaurant called Budokan for almost 2 years and made tons of money, but didn't actually do anything to build a real career at all. Like, I totally got swept away by the money and the lifestyle, and just, not that I was really living big or anything. You can't when you're in Manhattan, but I was just trying to make ends meet and just keep kind of chugging along. I was doing a lot of traveling. I would come home and I was like always homesick and always trying to get out of Manhattan. Even though I loved it, I was always trying to get out of Manhattan. And so, I ended up moving back to Florida. Again, I moved back to St. Augustine and went back into bartending. And I just seemed to continue this trend. But at this point, I had decided I was going to pick up that book that had been sitting on my dad's bookshelf for my whole life called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was going to actually try to understand this stuff because I've been hearing about how lucrative and rewarding real estate investing could be. So I decided I was going to become incredibly versed in real estate investing. So I did. And I picked up every book that I could possibly get my hands on. I got a Bigger Pockets membership. I networked with everyone who would speak with me. I literally learned, and of course, I'm not an expert or anything, but I learned everything I could get my hands on. I read and I tried to completely comprehend what I was reading about, specifically multifamily real estate. I just loved it. And I understood that, you could take your expenses and spread them out over all of these units. You could have any type of multifamily, everything from a class A, B, C, D. I was like learning my market, understanding where those areas actually were, what classified this kind of building versus that kind of building, amenities, all these things I learned about. And, even being able to do the math was pretty exciting because I'm not good at math, but I learned very quickly how to, calculate an ARV and things like that. So it was really great. It was a good time. And I got to meet a lot of people. I ended up sitting at the right table with the right person in my own town. I got an opportunity. I was just sitting with a friend and her mom, and her mom's boyfriend ended up coming to the lunch randomly. And we were all sitting there chatting about just like the future and like what we wanted to do with our lives. And like, it turned out he's one of the most successful and busy investors in my area. And I was able to just communicate with him on his level about, flips and residential, real estate, multifamily real estate. And he was like, who are you? Like, you need to come work for me. Like, where did you learn all this stuff? And I was like, this has been my passion for the last 2 years. All I've done is just try to learn this stuff so I can break out of bartending and serving and get into like something I really want to do. I want to retire my parents. I want to do all these big things. And, I know that that's only achievable if I can start to kind of build out my life into this area. And so he was like, absolutely come work for me. So I ended up in an office in my town working for not only him, but for Jake and Gino, who are two huge multifamily investors who have their own education program. I mean, they're really well known. And I had been kind of fangirling over them for a while, ended up being able to work for them through this opportunity, just editing podcasts and just being able to kind of be in their realm. In the same breath, all of these people also had their own short-term rentals that they had acquired, but really didn't have any way of managing. And they just were like, here, Dani, can you put these online? Kind of just stumble around here, figure it out, just get them booked.
Yeah.
Just get them booked, get them cleaned,
So what you're saying is you had, and this is why I want to drill down on this because this is important. You're saying you had no experience in this space whatsoever.
None.
And so you learned multifamily, you learned some books, you happened to be at a table and then met this guy, and then that turned into this. And so what she's basically saying, guys, is that she said it took 2 years. It wasn't like, hey, I read a book and then the next week I'm a multifamily investor. And, you kind of just decided you were going to add value to them. And so you're like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing in the short-term rental space, but I'm sure going to figure it out. Right.
Oh yeah. No, like when I'm given a task, I take it to 100. So I was like, let me figure this out. I've always loved the idea of vacation rentals. I've always loved the idea of eventually investing in those myself and having them all over the world. And I can go wherever I want, whenever I want. And when I'm not there, they can make me some money. So I've always been interested in vacation rentals. And at that point, I just kind of dove in. I had two that were given to me, monsters. One was an oceanfront that slept 12, gorgeous, upscale. I still have it to this day. Mm-hmm. It's like just my favorite property. And then I got another one that was right in the heart of my little downtown district that's also slept 12 people. And it was a monster. It was like, just like these two properties were like constantly booked. And I was struggling, like taking the punches left and right, trying to just figure out what I was doing.
So I want to stay here because somebody that me and you respect a lot, Maddie A, always talks about how you have to build the plane while you're flying. And that's pretty much what you were doing, right? I mean, you didn't know prices, you didn't know guests, you didn't know any of this stuff. And, you just said, I'm going to figure it out. We're making money all of a sudden. And, how were you getting paid at first? Like, how did you even figure out how much you were going to get paid at first?
I didn't. I had no idea. Honestly, as it went, I ended up saying, okay, so I've generated this much revenue. I had actually someone who I worked with very closely who had a little bit of experience in this as well. She had kind of dabbled in it. And so she was like, here, just let's put together an invoice. We'll just take 10% of the booking. We'll just do that. And I'm like, okay. So, I'm throwing together these Microsoft Word invoices and, sending them out. And they, happy investors making money. They were happy to write the check and give it to me. And I'm like, well, this is pretty I mean, while it's a lot of work, there's a lot of details, which I quickly learned how many, details there are. You want to show a property to a potential client, make sure that it's not when there's other guests there. I've made that mistake. I've made the mistake of, not scheduling the cleaner on time. People walk into a dirty house. I mean, I made all these mistakes in the beginning. I made the mistake of double booking the house. I made the mistake of, literally, and you learn these things. And when people have their vacations interrupted, it's like meltdown city. So you learn really quickly, wow, I never want that to happen again. How do I prevent that from ever happening again?
Mm-hmm.
So quickly the systems kind of fell into place, and they've been proprietary systems for a very long time. But they worked. And eventually I started getting to the point where people were like, hey, Dani, so-and-so has a unit they just bought. You should go talk to them. Give them a call, let them know what you do, see if it's something they'd be interested in. And I just started, like, literally family and friends would send me new clients. And I built this business. All of a sudden I was like running a business, and I wasn't an entity. I was just me running a business. I hadn't like made anything official. I wasn't even sure how I was going to pay
taxes. Were you still
taxes.
bartending at this time?
Yeah, I was still bartending. It was pretty wild. It was just so wild. Yeah. I was able to finally quit my job and go into this full time. Like, I burned all
How great
the
was
bridges.
that? How great was that?
It was like, I thought I was going to run laps around the city. Like, I was going to like pop bottles and just like run laps. Like, I was so excited when I finally was able to leave food and beverage. But at the same time, things were moving so quickly that I didn't even have the time to process what happened. Like, the day I clocked out of my last shift, I don't even remember, actually, because I was just moving right on to the next thing. Like, my life went 0 to 100 very, very quickly. And so I just kept pushing, kept learning, trying to pick up as much information as I possibly could for people who were already versed in how to do this, and so that became 2 units, became 10 units within a matter of like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
I had 2 for a while. And then all of a sudden it jumped to 10, and then it jumped to 15. And then
when do you think that, where were you at unit wise when we talked for the first time?
I think I was at
12 units. Okay. And guys, this is very important. I made a point to myself before we started this interview that this was kind of I think, and I'm not taking credit for it, so this is not what I'm doing, but I think that was the turning point, that if you would have continued to go down the road you were going, you couldn't have sustained it, because, kind of explain to them what was going on when you built this business. All of a sudden, you're a new business owner, and you're trying to please the clients. You're trying to keep your head above water, and you're getting ran over like a steamroller on a constant basis, moved in 30 different directions. Kind of talk them through, like, when we first chatted, and kind of, what you realized all of a sudden is that you couldn't sustain the way you were going, because it was going to go bad.
Yeah. Like, when we had our conversation, it was like, I hadn't even integrated like automated messaging yet. I was still answering everything, typing out a message every single time, copying and pasting check-in instructions to people, copying and pasting check-out instructions, and trying to remember, okay, who is where, and when are they coming, and when are they leaving, and who and what, and the cleaner, and this and that, and like literally just trying to keep all this straight in my head, plus take care of all my clients' needs, furnishing properties all in the same, like, because I had started that too. I was also doing furnishing, like completely from 0 to 100, like from A to Z, everything you could imagine, everything from like the couch to the silverware and the hairdryer. Like, it was insane. And my boyfriend at the time was like, I'm not even going to try to breathe the air in the room that you're in, because your anxiety and your stress levels are off the charts. I was struggling.
When that was going on, what kind of days were you putting in? Like, what time would you start in the morning, and kind of what time do you think that you stopped working?
I would start, here's the thing, is it was getting so out of hand that I would work so late. I would work till 2 and 3 in the morning. I would sleep till 8:30, and then I was already late when I woke up.
And how long did this go on, do you think?
oh God, I don't know, like almost a year,
Almost a
probably
year.
almost a year of just completely haphazard, like,
So I'm gonna come at you with a question right now.
uh-huh.
Do you think that like what I'm asking, like what drove you then? Like what was like that's a lot of work. I mean, that's a lot of work for a long period of time. What were you telling yourself in those moments, do you think? Like what was driving the fact? Was it the money, or was it that it was your business and you wanted to succeed, and that's really why it was so easy to work that much?
This is something I'm still learning about myself, but I've always been like a victim, not a victim. I've always been like, I guess I am to like being super responsible. I want to be the girl you can depend on. I've always wanted to be that. I'm so attached to that. And like my value that I bring to people is so important to me. Like it's like life or death level. Like I don't know why the stakes are so high. I don't know what happened in my life that it became like that, but I have to make sure that I complete everything to the best of my ability and deliver it on time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew every day that if I could keep doing this, it was eventually going to lead to the success I saw in my head long term.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that if I could come through and give my everything every minute of every day, I know that sounds like a lot, but I mean, it's like really what I was doing. I was putting myself ahead so far in the timeline to get where I wanted to be.
Sure.
And where I'm still going, And it was honestly a lot of it, and it's something I had to come to terms with too, just through our discussions, was it's very fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fear-based. I thrive in my fear. That's not a good thing, but it's something that I continue to work on, but it drives the hell out of me. My fear drives me. And so I've always been so afraid to have to go back to bartending, to have to go back to putting on my uniform, clocking in, clocking out, adhering to everyone else's rules. Oh, Dani, you can't do this. You can't do that. I was a rock star at bartending and serving. Okay. I was like, there was times when they fired everyone else and I was the only person on the floor, or everyone quit and I was the only person there. And I was able to literally cover everything and figure it out. But I never wanted to do it again.
And I'm gonna go into coaching mode here for a minute, because you appreciated the fact that that restaurant, regardless of what was going on, who messed up, who they had to fire, you appreciated that fact that they could count on you. Mm-hmm. And so that really fed that need that you're talking about, to seek to be the one to step up. And how much work have you had to do in the last couple of years on inner work to understand that about yourself? Not change it per se at the moment, but at least be self-aware of that moment.
It's in those moments of finally getting quiet space, or when I'm like going to sleep at night, when I finally like lay my head down and I'm like running through everything and I get my mind quiet, that I start to think about that, that I start to come to terms with that it's been fear driven all this time, and that I want to be that gladiator that people can rely on. I want to be that girl, and that there's a way to do that in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. And not in a fear-based way. And that's something that like every day I continue to try to work on, because it's part of my, my makeup is this, go, 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 go. It's all based on fear, but that's not something that can't be changed. And so I'm every day trying to let go of the fear of it all, and just trying to embrace that, like, this is who I am. I am responsible. I am going to come through for you. I am a gladiator, and that's just who I am. It doesn't have to be fear driven. It doesn't have to be fear based. I don't have to worry that like serving tables and bartending, like, let's say I ever did have to go back to that. well, you know what? That's a season. It's not forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I have to be like, holy crap. It's like, for a long time that was life or death to me. And I think that was a huge part of what got me, those 5-hour nights of sleep, get up, do it again, 5 hours, get up, do it again. I mean, even to this day, sometimes like there are nights I'm up super late, but that's because I'm in a flow state and I'm just like loving it. And I'm working. I'm getting stuff done. And then, I have to get up at 6, 7 in the morning and but it's rewarding. I jump out of bed excited with energy, not, oh my God, I'm already late. I'm stressed out. I'm freaking out. Everyone already needs me and I've been sleeping, and it's not like that anymore.
100%. And just to kind of give you guys, the listeners, a little insight onto that conversation, we had never met. We were in a mastermind together. And if I'm not mistaken, I felt like we talked for about an hour 45.
Oh my God, maybe longer.
It was maybe longer. And we clicked right away, and we kind of worked together. We've worked together a bunch in the last couple of years on a bunch of different projects, and we will in the future. But I was pretty rough on you. From a guy who didn't know you, I was dropping the hammer on you pretty hard because you were being run by your clients and your cleaners, and your business was running you. You weren't running your business.
Yep.
So what I want to go forward next is let's talk about, from that conversation over the next couple years or months, what has changed in your business to allow you to bring on more properties, bring on employees, but also kind of step out of your business and not be so fear-based in your business and kind of running your business, instead of kind of it running you, is kind of where I'm at with that.
Sure. I mean, as things grew and we had our conversation, it was pretty clear to me that I was allowing the business to run me, like you said, and things needed to change pretty quickly if I was going to continue to grow. There was a point at which it hit me right in the face. It was just I was getting run over by a truck. I was like, how am I going to scale this any further? How am I going to scale this any further? I'm having a panic attack right now, thinking about how much further can I actually stretch myself? This is impossible. So what ended up happening, I came home in that state, and, my friend, my best friend, was there at the time, and she was like, okay, is there something I can do to help you? And I was like, funny you ask. I was like, do you need a job? Because I could use some help. So I actually hired my first employee. She was part-time, and I gave her the things. It was very difficult to say, okay, what are the things that I can give away? I was so in my head. I was so in the hamster wheel that it was I was challenged by you and several other people that are in our, mastermind group at the time, that they said, you need to sit down and you need to take a whole hour and you need to write out everything you do, even the littlest things, everything from taking trash to the street to paying the taxes, writing the checks, paying your owners, generating the bookings, creating the listings, creating the welcome sheets, everything that I do. Write it down. And then decide which things you have to be in charge of. Which are the ones that are so sensitive that only you can do them. And then give everything else away.
And let me ask you a question, because this is my hardest thing as well too. And I've had to face my demons with this because I'm a control freak a little bit, kind of like you are, and ego and all that stuff, all that stuff. But you have to get to a point, and there's a cool trick. They said sticky notes, just write down when you're doing something hey, I did this. And then you assess, right? And so I would imagine that after you started giving away some of those tasks, it wasn't as hard as you thought, really. And then there's space created where you're like, holy crap. Now I can breathe again, and now I can work on the things that are important, right?
Yeah. And I mean, how many times have we all heard this? What can you give away? What can you give away? And you're like, oh yeah, it's so easy for you to say. It's not easy. It is a real struggle.
Your business is your baby. It's your baby.
It's an umbilical cord thing.
And more importantly, it's giving you the freedom to not wait tables. So the fact you're like me. Okay, if I come up with a new idea when I worked in the restaurant business, or bar manager, when I came up with a new drink or a new style that we were going to serve it in, I hovered over that for 3 weeks until I felt it was ready to be turned over to somebody else. Because if it was going to go down or it was going to fail, I'm strong enough and you're strong enough to take the failure. You're right.
Yes.
And so you own it and then you release it to other people. And I think
Yes.
that's probably what you were thinking, right?
Yeah. I was scared. I was scared because I was like, what if she doesn't get it?
Mm-hmm.
What if she doesn't catch on?
Yeah.
What if something gets missed? What then? Because then it's not, then it's not my doing, but it's my doing because I still have to take responsibility, right? But like but I didn't physically do it. So like, how do I explain this? And how do I, it was this whole thing. And it turns out she's perfect and she's great at everything. And I needed her desperately and she's become full-time. And I actually hired another assistant part-time to do more of a virtual assistant.
And
type
why?
of
And the
thing.
question is, why did she become full-time? Why did you pay her to leave her job? Why?
Because Austin and I have been working together a long time. You should see the smile on his face right now. And he pushed me because I had these 2 part-timers for a while. And I could see the writing on the wall. At this point, I think I was up to like 23 units or something. Or I don't know, 22, 23. And you were like, hire that girl full-time.
Mm-hmm. But
it is just going to get bigger.
100%. And I think what's exciting and something I think can bring a lot of value on somebody, you're looking at your we're going to go granular for a second. You're looking at your finances and you're saying, if I bring on 3 more properties, is that going to change my life, right? Am I going to retire? Probably not.
No.
But what you can do is you can take those 3 properties or that investment property and you can not think about those profits and have that profit, same Rich Dad Poor Dad, have the profits, the asset pay for scaling up, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of what you looked at it in that way, right?
I did. And I saw what was coming. And I saw, even in the beginning of this year, in 2020, I've literally been thinking to myself, like, wow. Like my goal was to double my business. And it just started coming at me. Like I put it out there and it just started coming at me.
So that's very important. That's very important. We're going to stop there because that, I think, is an underrated thing that people don't give enough credit to. You made a conscious decision. You wrote your goals down. You manifested. And when you open yourself up to that world, do you believe in that stuff? Do you believe?
Oh, totally. Because it was like immediate return. So January for me was like a wash. I just rushed right through January. On January 31st, I sat down and I took Maddie A's planner, which I had bought and had arrived before the new year, and I had not picked it up. And I literally sat with it and I was like, wow, I'm behind. I need to get this done. So I filled out the whole thing. I went through all his videos online. I really filled it out. And I decided that I was going to make this really ballsy goal of doubling my business in 2020. So that's from nearly 30 units. I was going to go to 60 units. I decided I was doing 60 this year. And within the first 7 days, I received referrals that got me on the phone and pitching myself pretty much. These all came to me. I did not seek them out. They came right to me. And it's getting to the point now where it's not just like family and friends and clients. It's like other people who have kind of heard about me are, hey, Dani, can you give me a ring? I just bought a property and I'm looking for management. And at this point, I've been able to like really hone what I do, my services, my scope, my structure. And so I can very, very easily talk to someone on the phone. I mean, the conversations can go on for 2 hours about what I do and what they're looking for. And I've found this ability to sell myself because I'm different from other property management companies. I've given myself an edge and an X factor that other management companies don't have. You're not just another can on my shelf. You're my client. Like your property is my baby. And like, that is bottom line. I cannot scale past the point where that gets lost. That is the most important thing to me. And so manifesting, I believe in 100% because it was within just a few days of writing that goal. I talked to, I think, 6 different potential owners who found me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it was just like, I came out and I looked at my assistant and I was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Like, if this really happens, like, we got to scale again. You know, I can't, again, most important to me is just continuing to hang on to that X factor and like treating everyone with like, my owners get the 5-star service that my guests get too, you know, that is so important to me.
And I think what's really important, guys, and this is something I've kind of been on for a couple months, there's no part of you, well, there's a part of you, but you understand that at 60 units, you know, maybe you're not there, you know, skills wise, mentally to handle the burden of that with extra employees and stuff, but you're going to do everything in your power to get there. Right. And
oh yeah,
you know, and you're going to grow and you're going to know that like that, yeah, that's a big goal. And when I arrive there, I'm going to do enough self-work and talk to enough people and surround myself with enough great people that it gets to a point where, yes, I am that person. And that's something that I see is that, building 3 businesses right now, like, and there's a lot going on, but I'm maybe not the CEO that I want to be right now, but I'm teaching myself leadership and traits and stuff like that. And I'm sure that's a constant thing for you as well.
I'm learning every day, every single day. I mean, I remember when I hired the girls and I was struggling with leadership. I was struggling with like, can I be a good leader? Like I wasn't, telling them that, but I was, every day I was questioning, like, can I be a good leader? How do you even lead? I've never led anything before. Well, that's not true. When I really think back now, I'm like, no, I've been a leader, but I think I just was really in my head at the time. I'd never hired anybody before. I'd never had to be that person for somebody, but it was that actually came to me much easier than the delegating and like letting go part of it. The leadership was pretty much like, I need to make sure that these girls have everything to be successful that I can possibly give them, be available, be there for them, but set them up so that way they don't feel uncomfortable doing what they have to do every single day. They feel very comfortable. They know what the answers are. And if we come across something new, then that's one thing, but they don't need to keep coming back around to me for every little thing. That was the leadership aspect of it, was being able to say, okay, let's have a little meeting. Make sure you let me know what it is you need. Like, make sure that I'm depending on you guys to communicate to me what I can do for you as your leader. That was super important. And it made them feel really good too.
Yeah. And something I recommended to you probably 2 weeks ago or a week ago, something that really changed my life was the reading Extreme Ownership. And, understanding as a business owner, regardless of your employees don't listen to you or do the wrong thing or whatever, you as a business owner have to look at yourself and ask yourself, did I create the right expectations around the role? Did I communicate properly the amount of expectations and a deadline? Because I know that even though I like to talk a lot, there's a lot in my head, and sometimes I don't communicate properly, right? And I'm sure that's something that you deal with from time to time.
I do. I totally get tripped up in my words because, when you've got, a multitasking mind, I have so much going on that like, I got a hearing test this year. I swear I'm 30 years old and I went and got a hearing test because I was like, I'm losing my hearing. I can't hear anybody. And the doctor was like, no, your hearing is perfect. You're just literally that busy that you are not actually hearing people when they speak to you. So you need to work on that. And I was like, oh crap, now I have no excuses. So anyway, yeah.
I can't believe you went to the doctor for that.
I did. I was serious. I went in and I like swear to God, as genuine as could be, was like, I am losing my hearing at 30 years old. I was like, you have to test me now. So they took me in the thing. I was in the room with the headphones on and everything. Like they did all the tests and they gave me back like perfect hearing. You have perfect hearing. And I was like, seriously? How do I tell my boyfriend that?
Yeah. And guys, what I think is amazing and something that you might have not caught on to is that she's doing all this in one city. It's not like she has properties everywhere. She is the go-to manager for that area. And because of the service she's provided and the constant good record, we're going through a time right now in the Airbnb world as we're doing this recording where the the virus is kind of just, really putting a clamp down on the short-term rental business. But your clients, your investors have so much faith in you that they're not questioning what you're doing, because you got out in front of them and you communicated to them that this is out of my control.
Yes.
And because you built up so much goodwill with them, they're willing to ride out this wave that we're dealing with to get to the other side.
Yeah. I'm sorry if that dinging is heard on the thing. I'm so sorry. I actually don't know how to turn it off, so I apologize.
What's that? No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. You're not hearing digging?
No, I'm not worried about it. We're just
okay,
going.
Great.
Yeah, we're just going.
Perfect. Okay. I just keep hearing it in my ears and I'm like, oh crap, I hope that's not, interrupting the recording. So anyway, this has definitely been a time of like total uncertainty, but and thanks to you and your help with just, again, like me living in that fear-based mindset, you got in my head and you were like, I know what's going on in there. You were like, you need to go ahead and get out ahead of this. And I was like, you're right. I've been thinking about that. Like I need to sit down and compose something that is honest and assures them that like, I am working around the clock to make this work for everybody, like to figure this out. And I sincerely am. Like it's like all I think about really is just like making sure that these homeowners can pay their mortgages this month. How do we figure that out? If that looks like we have to take a 30-day renter, we take a 30-day renter. Mm-hmm. That is 100% what we're going to do to get through this time. Mm-hmm. And so, cause I'm their number one advocate. Sure. I'm in their corner.
So true story. We said that we would take a lesser percentage just to cover our costs, because we know it's rough for some owners right now. And our owner said, I really appreciate that. The gesture is amazing, but not a chance in hell. We're paying you full rate. It's important that y'all keep your business running in this time too. So when you create relationships of proper expectations and service, your clients will show it back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
Something that I think that a lot of people get value out, and you can go as vulnerable as you want. You can go as deep as you want. I know that the person I talked to before you went to a Tony Robbins event and the person I talked to afterwards was two totally different people. Mm-hmm. And I know you're still a work in progress, as I am as ever, but kind of walk us through, you can go as far down as you want or not. It's up to you, but what do you think was the real aha moment in that 4-day stretch and that event that really set you on such a path? Because the person I see in front of me now is so much freer, and health is an important part. You've been working out again. That's keeping the mind right. So, just kind of walk us through what you think transformed it in that event.
Yeah, that was March 2019. So it was a year ago that I went to my first Tony Robbins event, and it was an Unleash the Power Within, which is like his, entry level event. It's the biggest one that he does, but it's like baby step number one. And by baby step, I mean you walk on fire on your first night. But it's baby step number one to kind of joining into the rest of the things, like the events that he hosts, because those are more intensive, but actually smaller groups of people. So I went having no idea, no background information, don't know anybody in my area really that had been to them, except a couple of investors that I work with who were just like, oh my God, you've got to go. It's the best. But that's really all I knew. I had to go. It was the best. So I booked these flights and I'm like, oh God, now I have to buy the ticket. And I did it on a whim. I just booked the flight without a ticket, bought the ticket, got the accommodations. As I'm getting to the airport to leave, I'm like, who authorized this? Who authorized this? Who is letting me leave? Who authorized
this? Guys, and what she's talking about right there is, because Dani is notorious for this. She is so hard on herself that she says, there's no way I can do this. There's no way that I can take off this time for work for myself. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that 70%, 90% of the people out there are the same way. You're not giving yourself freedom from your businesses to take any time for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. I mean, it just, and then especially young business owners who are just in their first year, you absolutely feel like you cannot step away. You know, you feel like you cannot step away or it's all going to fall apart. Well, I learned that I have a lot of people who believe in me very much and were willing to step up into so many roles while I was gone that I did not receive one phone call while I was there. Like, yes, I had clients who, you know, forgot that I was gone and they emailed me or something, but like nothing happened that took me away from my experience. Everyone stepped up and just was like, I'm here for whatever needs to get done. You know, if there's a sink issue, if there's a guest issue, if there's a, you know, whatever it may be, they just took over. And I was able to spend 4 undivided days totally getting to know myself on like such a real level. Like it felt like the most indulgent thing I had ever done for myself. I got to say, like it was just, I mean, they know what they're doing. That man, Tony Robbins, he has figured it out because you, from the moment you arrive, they keep you completely captivated. I swear, I didn't want to like get up and go to the bathroom or go get water for like 13, 14-hour days. Like you sleep very little and you do so much in such a short period of time that it is mind blowing what the body is capable of. But they keep you on a wavelength throughout the whole thing. I mean, yes, you go up and they bring you down. And just as you're going all the way down, they bring you skyrocketing back up. And it's a total, you experience things you didn't even know you were capable of experiencing. It's wild, man. But it was so good. And I overcame a lot of things. I mean, there's a day where you just, it's called Transformation Day. It's the 3rd day that you're there. And by that point, you've learned so much and you've introduced yourself to so many unknown, like foreign to you concepts. It's almost like you came in with blinders on and like the blinders start to open up as you're like, wow, you know, like life is what I choose it to be. You know, that life isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And that's something that I've been living on during this virus, like living on. But I spent on that 3rd day, you know, they take you into this very, very dark place. And you are asked to go into the depths of what it would look like if you let these fears and these beliefs, these limiting beliefs that keep you from living life, like you're the most raw, darkest, foundational fears and beliefs that have held you back in your life. You have to dig so deep into those. I mean, I'm probably scaring away the people who are going to be listening to this who have never gone to a Tony Robbins event, but it is the most unbelievable thing you could possibly do is to go all in and play full out on this particular day, because they take you all the way down and you have to literally live it. Like you have to live what your life is going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. If you continue to live just like you're living today, what are you going to lose? Who's going to leave you? What are you sacrificing? What does life look like if you keep living like this? And it's horrifying. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very, I mean, just listening to the people around you, my God, I have goosebumps. Just listening to the people around you, like just all out feeling this and seeing in their mind what their life looks like if they keep living that way. I mean, it is just so real and so emotional. I mean, I was just completely beside myself. And then, you know, how Tony does, he just takes you right from that place all the way out of that place. And it's like incredible. Like just the things that he teaches you that you can call on anytime when you're in a bad place. I've got a dog here now. That's a little shadow that just showed up on the screen. But he teaches you things that you can use any time in your life. You can call on them to bring you out of any negative place that you're in, and it'll just skyrocket you right back to your, your belief in yourself that you can do anything. It is unbelievable. He'll be like, all right, now that you're way the hell up there in the sky, what if someone told you right now that you're fired? What would you say to them? And everyone just throws their arms in the air and they're like, fuck you. Like, it's just, and you feel it. Like, you feel it so deeply. It's so good. It's so good.
Guys, y'all should rewind that part. Trust me, that was gold. What she's describing, guys, is that you're arming yourself, your tool belt, your emotional tool belt, your mental tool belt, with things and a foundation that allows nothing to get in your way. The unstoppable, relentless mindset. We can get fired. We can have a virus. We can lose our business. We can lose money. We can lose friends. But if you're rooted in who you are as a person, you know that every day that you show up to work in an environment, on a podcast or school, you can choose how you want to be viewed. You can choose how you see the world. And by doing that, you're unstoppable. And that's what Dani's created. I have so much respect for the woman that she's become. I have so much respect for the business owner she's become. It is really one of the greatest thrills of my life to watch this person in front of my eyes employ people and become this rock star of an operator. And I know she's just getting started. So it really is. It's a great thing, and this is what life's about. Is doing it together, failing together a lot too, but also sharing in the wins.
Right.
So,
overcoming false beliefs about ourselves.
Sure. And a high performance coach that I've done some work with, he calls it shadows. So your shadows are your limiting beliefs. Your shadows are portraying you in the light. And I firmly believe that if you bring your shadows into the light, they no longer hold control over you, and you receive the power back.
Totally. I agree with that completely. And that is really what that moment at Tony Robbins that day is about. It's about bringing those things to light and saying, I'm going to overcome this. And I'm replacing these completely false beliefs about myself with brand new, shiny, amazing, true beliefs that I can move forward with and repeat and live on and live fully on and live my best life on,
Amen.
That's what it's about. That's what
Perfectly
it's about.
put. So what I want to get into for the next 5 minutes while we wrap up this podcast is a couple things. One, where do you see your business going in the next couple of years? And then the second thing is how can they find out about you? How do they get a hold of you? Stuff if they've got clients that want Airbnbs managed or just to follow your journey.
Sure. So right now we're looking at, obviously some uncertainty around this virus, and it's such an interesting time to be doing podcasts and recordings because, we're going to look back on these things in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years and be like, wow, I cannot believe it's going to feel totally surreal. Just like, it feels surreal now. It's going to feel surreal in a totally different way then to look back on this. But, as this has unfolded and continues to unfold, I've kept a really strong mindset. Like, I'm super proud of myself because I could be freaking out right now. And I'm not. I'm not, because I know that I have controlled things in my business in a way that I have not over leveraged myself. I've kept myself in a place where I can get through this. I'm very clear-minded. What do we need to do to get through this time? When we're out on the other side, people will be traveling again. This is not the end. It is not. In fact, it is an interesting beginning. Mm-hmm. It really is for a lot of us. Like, that's the way you need to see it, is like, take this time. This is precious time. Mm-hmm. Take this time to sharpen everything about what you do, like your personal life, your business. Like, this is the time. This is the time for those projects that are super important that you were like never going to find time for. I'm doing them all right now. I'm still every night closing my business. At the end of the day, I sit down with my planner and I close my business. And the next morning I sit down with my planner and I open my business.
Mm-hmm.
We are open and then we close. And I know what tomorrow's going to look like. And I know what the next day is going to look like. And I make a point to be super on it with my planning because it makes me feel and know and have confidence in the fact that we will get on the other side of this. And when we get there, I'm going to be so prepared, like unbelievably prepared for whatever's coming. And I think that the difference is going to be that a lot of people in my industry, because, you know, short-term rentals have become very saturated. And it's been, you know, we start looking for these smaller markets, these tertiary markets that have a tourism, you know, drive that you can start doing this stuff in. But like, it was really getting out of hand. I love that everyone's making so much money. I don't wish, you know, that anyone be so harmed by this that they go out of business. But I think a lot of people are going to pivot to long-term rentals here or some other way of making their money and getting through this. Whereas I am not doing that. Like, we will make it work. We're going to take 2-week stays, 30-day stays. We're going to figure out how to get by. But in the end of this, people are going to be so ready for a vacation. They are so sick of looking at their four walls.
I'm already planning mine. The moment that I'm allowed to travel again, California, Tahoe, here I come. I need a moment.
I know. And everybody's talking about that.
I agree. And so, guys, this is what we're talking about. These are the two parallels of different ideas that you can have in this moment. I agree 100% with Dani. Some of the competition is going to be gone. I'm doubling down on my business, doubling down on learning all the new skills and making sure that we're buttoned up. And I feel like I'm a lion in a cage just waiting for you to open up the door, and it's going to be on big time.
Yep.
For sure. So
confidence around that.
What's the name of your company? How can they get a hold of you?
Okay. So Euphoria Vacation Homes is the name of my company. We are based in St. Augustine, Florida. I do have one unit in Vermont, it's an old boss of mine has a condo up there, and we have some really good people on the ground. So we're able to run a pretty tight ship up there. It's been fantastic. But we're based in St. Augustine, Florida, and I do have 28 units here. And you can find me on, my website is euphoriavacationhomes.com. I'm building out another site right now. So everything's a little bit under construction, which is part of the project I'm doing during this downtime. But we'll put, we'll write out where you guys can find me. And you can always email me at danifattizzi@gmail.com. So that's DaniFattizzi@gmail.com. I am on Facebook, Euphoria Vacation Homes. I am on Instagram at Euphoria_vacations. So any of those places you can find me and connect. And I would love to help you guys out if you're looking for a stay, if you're looking for information on, property management, if you're just looking for some tips on what I do or systems that I use. Happy to help with anybody who's getting started in the business and just wants, some ways to get kind of around the mistakes that I've made. Happy to help. I do a lot of, work on that with helping people sort of navigate the new parts of their businesses with short-term rentals. So happy to help if you guys need any help there. And the long-term goal, I'm still trying to get 60 units this year. I'm still like every morning I'm meditating on, I'm going to double my business this year. I'm going to double my business this year. And long-term, I want to keep a boutique feel, which is my thing. I'm a boutique short-term rental company. I always want to maintain that boutique feel because I want my owners to know that we are 1,000% in their corner, even down to the smallest details. But I want to scale this internationally at some point. Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Yep. We have the same goals. So we want to be sitting on a beach running some Airbnb.
Yep.
Guys, if y'all love, what an interview. I'm just sitting here playing it over in my head thinking that was gold. Super gold. Thank you so much for coming, Dani.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, feel free to share it with your friends. Give us a rating and review. We're going to keep these great episodes coming to you. And y'all have a great day, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.